Well, it's finally here, the much anticipated part 2 to my video about the Cleveland Browns getting screwed by the refs. It's been 2 years, so I thought a follow-up video was necessary, especially after the season that just happened. There wasn't a whole lot to cheer about, so we deserve to complain a little bit, right? Now before we get started, I want to clarify a few things. Number one, this video is not me saying that the NFL is rigged. And when I say rigged, I mean the idea that the league office is determining the outcomes of games. I've just never been a big believer in that. Maybe I'm naive, but I don't buy into that at all. I do think it's possible there are rogue refs who have their own agendas, but that's an entirely different thing in my opinion. The second thing I want to clarify is this. I'm not saying that the refs are the reason the Browns are bad. That's not what I'm implying. The refs are honestly towards the bottom of the list of reasons why the Browns have stunk the last 20 years. The main purpose of this video is just to kind of stick up for Cleveland a little bit, and also to shine a spotlight on some of these bad calls, because it seems like they are always quickly forgotten, and nobody outside of Cleveland ever seems to care. So this is my attempt to bring attention to all of this. And before you say, oh, Browns fans are complainers, they whine about this and that, Cowboys fans are still talking about whether or not Dez caught it, so I don't want to hear it. But now that we've got that all straightened out, what do you say we get started with the video? The first blown call we're going to talk about is from Browns at Raiders, Week 4, 2018. There's 6.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter and the Raiders are trailing by 1. Derek Carr takes the snap, drops back, has a decent amount of time, but winds up getting swarmed by Browns defenders. The heap of Browns players causes Carr to fumble the ball and a Cleveland player recovers it. But for whatever reason there was a quick whistle and the play was blown dead, so the fumble did not stand. This is pretty bizarre because Derek Carr hadn't even been hit for a second before the ball popped out, so why this was whistled dead is beyond me. The only explanation I can think of is player safety. It's no secret the NFL has gone above and beyond to make the game safer, especially for quarterbacks. And from the officials' angle, it probably looked like a swarm of Browns players were about to pancake Derek Carr into the turf, so I can see why they may have wanted to blow the whistle early. Also, looking at this more, the ball does come out at a weird angle, so I can kind of see how the official in the back may have missed that. But nevertheless, it's a blown call, and that just shouldn't happen. The next blown call we're going to talk about is also from this Raiders game, and it's one that probably none of you remember, or very few at the most, and here it is. With 12:35 in the second quarter, Marshawn Lynch carries the ball about 5 yards before the play is whistled dead. After the whistle, he runs down the sideline and kicks the ball in frustration. Kicking the ball should have resulted in a penalty, but none of the officials took action and ultimately it was ignored. You can see Hugh Jackson going ballistic because he knew there should have been a flag there. Now I'll be honest, the only reason I'm aware of this rule is because I was reminded of when Browns cornerback Lee Bodden kicked the ball back in 2007, and he got penalized for that. So I'm not sure why Marshawn Lynch was let off the hook here. The next blown call comes from Ravens at Browns, Week 5, 2018. There's 3:26 left in overtime and the Browns are faced with a critical 4th down and 5. What happens next will unfortunately not surprise you. Baker takes the snap, looks to his left, and throws a lob to Jarvis Landry. As the pass falls incomplete, you hear the crowd bellow in disbelief. This is because Jarvis Landry was leveled by Ravens defenders well beyond 5 yards down the field. At the bare minimum, there should have been a flag on the Ravens for illegal contact, but no flag was thrown at all and the Browns turned it over on downs. The referee's explanation for this was that the ball was, quote, uncatchable, so there was no need for a penalty. A strange occurrence indeed. Luckily, this wouldn't matter because Cleveland went on to win the game when it was all said and done, which is probably a reason this isn't talked about anymore. Still, I thought it was worth pointing out. Our next blown call comes from Browns at Ravens, Week 17, 2018. There's 1:53 left in the first half and the Ravens are going in for the early death blow. Lamar Jackson takes the snap and tries to stretch the ball over the pile and break the plane, but the ball pops out into the backfield and is recovered by Browns safety Jabril Peppers. Peppers proceeds to run down the field to score a touchdown, but in a twist, the play was whistled dead because the call on the field was a touchdown for the Ravens. The first thought was that Lamar Jackson broke the plane before the ball came out. But upon further review, it was determined that Lamar was actually short of the goal line, which means there shouldn't have been a whistle and it should have been 6 points the other way for Cleveland. I remember everyone, including myself, was pretty upset about this at the time. But one way to look at it is like this. The Browns did get possession of the ball, unlike the Derek Carr play earlier, and on the very next play, Jarvis Landry dropped a would-be touchdown, so Cleveland could have got the 6 points back right there. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for the refs. What they did here was inexcusable, but I'm just trying to give you another way to look at this so you don't get too upset about all of this. But moving on. The next blown call comes from Seahawks at Browns, Week 6, 2019. There's about 5 minutes left in the third quarter and the Browns are deep in their own territory. Baker throws a check down to Nick Chubb, who ends up getting a considerable gain. But not so fast, a flag was thrown, negating the 12-yard gain by Chubb. To everyone's disbelief, the flag was on Jarvis Landry for an illegal blindside block. This is mystifying because when the tape is run back, there's clearly no illegal blindside block anywhere. In fact, this is the kind of block a coach might show on tape to demonstrate to younger players how it's done. The Browns were backed up half the distance to the goal and wound up going 3 and out. This was a serious momentum killer for Cleveland, and unlike the other calls I've talked about, I have no explanation for how or why this penalty was called. Like, there's no scenario I can come up with where I can see where the official was coming from. Just bad all around. Our next blown call comes from Browns at Chiefs 2020 divisional round of the playoffs. This was a pivotal point in the game as the Browns desperately needed 6 after getting off to a slow start. So with 1:40 left in the second quarter, Baker takes the snap and then quickly looks to his right and connects with Rashard Higgins, who lunges for the end zone. Sadly, the ball popped out just inches before it crossed the goal line and it wound up going out of the end zone for a touchback. This touchback rule is contentious in and of itself, but the real controversy here, or blown call, is that Rashard Higgins was clearly the victim of illegal use of the helmet. As you see on the replay, Chiefs safety Daniel Sorensen leads with his helmet and whacks Higgins, causing the fumble. With all of the emphasis on player safety, it's strange how the official, who is standing right there, didn't throw a flag. Now yes, it's much harder to see things when they happen in real time, but come on. And what's weird is it looks like the official initially reaches for the flag but then decides to put it away. I'm not saying that's what he was doing, but it kind of looks like it. The next blown call we're going to talk about is from this past season, Browns at Chargers Week 5. There was 9:10 left in the fourth, and the Chargers decided to gamble from their own 41 on a 4th and 4. Justin Herbert felt the pressure and rolled out to his right and threw up a prayer intended for receiver Mike Williams. The pass fell incomplete, but guess what? There was a flag. It was pass interference on Cleveland's AJ Green. The only problem is when you run the tape back, it's clearly Mike Williams who is the one making all of the contact. So what the official saw there is beyond me. Now this call didn't decide the game, but it certainly gave the Chargers new life. I mean, the Browns would have had great field position and potentially could have made it a 2-score game. Disappointing all around. And the last blown call I have for everyone is also from this past season, and it's one that is probably still fresh in your mind. It comes from Browns at Packers Week 16. The Browns were trailing by 2 at the very end of the game and were hoping to get close enough to kick a game-winning field goal. On 3rd and 10 with 50 seconds left, Baker Mayfield takes the snap and throws over the middle to Donovan Peoples-Jones, but the pass is picked off. However, upon closer inspection, you can clearly see that this was not Baker Mayfield's fault, as Packers cornerback Rasul Douglas was obviously guilty of pass interference. His contact with Peoples-Jones happened well beyond 5 yards down the field, so this was not a difficult call to make at all. The Browns were in disbelief as you'd expect, but given everything I've laid out in this video, they probably shouldn't have been. This was devastating because it won the Packers the game and it severely diminished the Browns' playoff hopes. I know, they should have taken care of business earlier in the season, but at some point I think you should be allowed to put at least an ounce of the blame on bad officiating. But that's just me. That does it for all of the blown calls. Now I have 2 things I want to clear up from the rest video I made back in 2019. The first thing I want to straighten out is the whole first down controversy from the Steelers game in 2009. When I made the first video, I didn't have access to NFL Game Pass, so the best I could do was find some low-quality version of this clip on YouTube. The clip was weirdly stretched out, and it kind of altered the picture, leading some to question whether or not there was even a controversy. But here is the high-def NFL Game Pass version, and as you can see, there is no debate whatsoever. Everyone can see the ball was short of the first down marker. Just wanted to clear that up. The second thing I want to clear up is something that will surprise every Browns fan watching this, and it might even ruffle some feathers, but I still think it's worth pointing out. It's the Carlos Hyde play from the Raiders game in 2018. Everyone, including myself, was up in arms about this and thought this was definitive proof that NFL games can be rigged. However, I'm here to tell you that I think the officials made the correct call. So first I'm going to play it in real time and tell you why it's deceiving. Boom, it looks like he clearly gets the first down, or bare minimum there isn't conclusive evidence to overturn it, right? Well, here's the screenshot that says otherwise. You see the ball is right there and it's clearly short of the first down marker. Now you know he's down in this picture because when you look at the slow-mo angle, you see his forearm is touching the ground at this moment. Now it is weird because on the slow-mo angle it looks like the ball is past the first down marker, but when we go back to the other angle you see it's short of the yellow line. Now I know there will be people who say this still isn't conclusive enough, and I understand that, but I just no longer believe the Browns were robbed here. I can at least see why the call was overturned. I know I'm being a shill for the NFL, but if being objective is what shills do, then I'll welcome the label shill. So that does it for the video. I hope this served as a therapy session, but I also hope it served an educational purpose as well. My hope is that I exposed some things that need to be corrected, but I also hope I showed everyone some new perspectives on a few of these plays, which would hopefully make people less angry about all of this. Because the intent of this video is not to create anger. I know it's easy to get riled up at the refs, I do it all the time, but I think you'll find that sometimes there's at least an explanation for why an official may have made a mistake. It still doesn't excuse it, but thinking about it this way might make you less angry. Before I go, please hit subscribe if you haven't already, please follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch, and please consider supporting me on Patreon. All of the links will be in the description. Until next time, I'm Ramen Robbie, and thanks for watching.